Hey, Ticho in town. Ticho's another boot bro with the Stitch Down podcast. Ticho Blanco on Instagram.
Ticho Blanco Shoes.
Ticho Blanco Shoes on Instagram. And he's been working with this brand, and this is one of the craziest stories and one of the finest pairs of boots that I've ever seen, and it's made in China, completely bucking the trend of like all that cheap junk coming from China. And so that's why in this video, we're gonna go through all the different layers, run through our tests to really see if you can get the world's finest boot from China, unlike every single comment section ever, made in China with a bunch of bull. That's what we're gonna do, because this boot is wild. And like I said, it's a crazy story, so Ticho's gonna tell you the story of where this all came from and the brand and how it all came to be, because it is wild.
My buddy Lars at Ostmo Boots, self-taught bootmaker, lives in Norway, end of a fjord, based these models off of some vintage Norwegian military boots that he found, modernized the last, like making them by hand, by himself, right? He's just one dude living at the end of a fjord. I met him a couple years ago. He told me, hey, can you go find somebody to make my designs? But like, they gotta be even better than I make them, which is tough tasks. I looked pretty much all over the world, and the only place I found that could do it to the way that he was satisfied with it, to do it in a decent volume, Iron Boots in Guangzhou, China.
That's so wild. How long have you, him, and the Chinese guys been working together on this project?
We've been working on it for, like 3 years or something like that. This will be our 10th release in the Seidel Mocha Oil Tan Rough Out.
Yeah, so that's a perfect tee up for the leather. So that's what this is the... So usually, that's cool. I didn't know it was actual Seidel leather.
Yeah.
Let me get my caliper. We'll get some thicknesses on there.
Which Rose Anvil wallet is right for you? If you want something light you can run with, put in a jacket pocket, or you only want to carry the bare essentials, the Claude or the Slim wallet have got you covered. Let's look at wallet thickness and number of pockets. Here's how the Claude and Slim stack up. With 2 pockets each and a thickness of 4.2 millimeters, these wallets are super light and minimal. And the hand stitching and full grain leather make them extra durable. Get yours at roseanvil.com. Up next, a wallet for people who want a little bit more space.
Because we were talking about how thick it was in a little interview we did before this, where we told the whole story of the brand and all this in a lot deeper detail. If you want to go watch that, please do. But like if we take a little measurement, I don't know if I can get my caliper all the way in there. Oh, it's 5 millimeters? I'm just kidding. So it's probably around 2.5, 3, probably 3 millimeters. Obviously a flesh out leather. You can see actually it's lined too.
Yeah.
So no wonder it's so freaking thick. So yeah, you got that really thick Seidel leather that's traditionally more like a work boot leather, right?
Right.
Put on a more dress last, which is really cool. And this is basically the same leather that like the Pacific Northwest guys use in their work boots. And then on the inside, like we said, it is fully lined too. What is the lining leather, do you know?
I think this is a deer lining. He's also used a horsehide lining on a bunch of our stuff, which was really cool, and just really elevates the experience of wearing it when you have like a super high-end lining.
Yeah. What is the benefit? That's the one thing I've never really understood about like dress boots. Like, why do people that are in the dress boot world like a lining versus no lining?
You know, I think it gives them a little bit more control over what it's gonna feel like on your foot.
Okay.
They can guarantee that it's gonna be really luxurious feeling. It's gonna wick moisture off of your feet and stuff like that.
Because otherwise, without a lining, most boots that aren't like flesh out, this is what would be on the inside of the boot.
Right.
And so for someone that's wearing really nice socks and slipping their little toes in a nice pair of boots, maybe you don't want all the furry stuff slowly shedding on your shoes and potentially leach and dye into it. And then even if we look even deeper inside, it looks like it has is it a half sock liner?
Yeah.
And then the insole is a crazy insole. Didn't you say it was like buffalo?
It's a 6-ounce veg tan buffalo.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's basically so far we have like work boot leather upper with a deerskin lining or 6-ounce buffalo insole.
Yeah.
That's that's crazy. And so where's the buffalo come from? Like what's the idea behind doing a buffalo insole?
You know, Kai the bootmaker.
It smells good too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, it's gotta smell good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, he is just really, really particular about every input that he puts into these things. And, you know, I would absolutely believe that he tested dozens and dozens of different insoles and found, you know, in terms of ease of working with it and durability. A lot of times when you have a really thick insole like that, 6 ounces is pretty thick.
Right.
You know, it's gonna be a tough break-in. It's gonna be like kind of a slog to get them going and form into your feet.
Yeah.
These, you don't really have that problem. They form pretty quickly.
Okay. It actually does feel softer. Like I feel like I can almost like push my almost a little indentation into it if I push really hard. So I wonder if that is the value of it, because like bison leather in the US, it's the softer stuff because they like tumble it and make it like more pebbled. So I wonder if it's a similar thing with the insoles.
Yeah, I think it's basically taking that really thick buffalo hide and then veg tanning it so that it has all the properties that you want of a veg tan.
This boot is wild. Okay, and so then we go deeper down. Obviously, we have a full-length veg tan midsole because it's a stitch down construction.
Right.
And so there's no like filling.
There is a filling.
Oh, is there really? Okay.
All right, so the filling.
Yeah, give us the lowdown on the filling before we cut it in half.
The filling is wool.
Oh, of course.
Okay, so the filling is wool because it's great for regulating temperature, great for regulating moisture, right? Which is what you kind of want for the filling, right? Is you want it to make sure everything's breathing, keep the moisture moving so that it's not just like sticking in there, and it's also really lightweight. The downside of it is pretty expensive and labor intensive to put that in there.
So work boot upper, deerskin leather lining, buffalo insole, full length veg tan midsole, wool filling.
Yeah.
This is such a crazy boot. Okay, what else do we have?
We got the Dr. Sole 1220 Super Group on the bottom, which great full sole. Love. I actually went to the Dr. Sole factory when I was in China.
Oh, sick.
Saw them stamping these things out.
That's cool.
What they told me is that this pattern here was actually carved by hand. The mold.
Wow.
When they made the mold, somebody had to do that by hand because they weren't satisfied with how it was being automated. The other thing I learned when I was there, right? So obviously, there's lots of differences in outsoles, right? And the composition of it can be different. But the big difference for Dr. Sole is that they're actually stamping for, I think, like 50 seconds, right?
Okay.
Whereas most places when they're stamping an outsole, it's like 7 or 8 seconds, right?
Okay.
So they're keeping it in the heat mold for significantly longer, which means it's going to stay together better and it's going to be like more evenly put together.
Because this is like really, really fine work here on the on like the pad.
Yeah, somebody did that by hand.
That's crazy. One of the things we talked about in the little interview thing we did on Rose Anvil 2 was the stitch down construction. Because I unboxed, where's that other pair? That black pair. Yeah, grab one of those. I did an unboxing of these, and I was just kind of going off like, this is like so precise, and like the stitch density is this, and like it's like this is a really, really like perfectly made boot. And then we did the interview, and you're like, oh yeah, they do it by hand.
Right.
And not like hand on like a sewing machine with an awl and needle. And the thing that's crazy about that is it's so precise, and people think like hand done stuff is always gonna be more precise. That's not always the case because like a sewing machine is always gonna, what I used to think anyway, always gonna be more precise because it's set at a certain stitch length. It's a machine doing the same operation over and over and over. There's no human error.
Right.
But these guys are doing it straight up by hand.
Yeah.
And it is so precise.
It's really hard to do that. And then it's even harder to get it to look nice on top.
Yeah.
And get it to look nice on the bottom too. Like those are two separate things you have to take into account.
Well, yeah, because if you think about, like if you're going through several layers of leather, it's just like drilling through like a lot of layers of wood.
Yeah.
Like if you're misaligned at all, you could end up popping out a 1/4 inch in the wrong direction.
Right.
And so to get it to line up to a point where like just a rough, like what is the stitch density on this? Like 3 millimeters?
Yeah.
So you have like zero room for error. That blows me away. Like I almost like don't believe you that it's done by hand. That's how precise it is. Obviously a full leather heel stack.
Yep.
And then feels like a nice hardy counter on the inside.
Yeah, leather counter, and we can do it an unstructured toe or a structured toe, and if you do structured, it is a full leather toe puff.
Cool. The brand of this is what?
So we call it the Ostmo by Iron Boots.
Okay.
Ostmo Boots, he's a guy in Norway. Iron Boots, they're the guys in China. This thing is truly a collaboration. It's not just them making boots for us. It is. We work on this together. We're all invested in making the best possible product here.
And humble Chicho not putting his name on the collaboration anywhere.
We already had enough names. We didn't need more X's.
And then what is this specific model called?
All right, so this is the Ostmo Type 1, also known as a Beckhamstøvler.
Oh,
is the Norwegian term for it.
Dangerous.
Which is basically a vintage type of military boot that was worn in Norway.
So I love vintage military boots. And then how much does it retail for?
So this guy retails for $875. The price totally depends on the leather, right? Senda leather, we only want to use leather from the top tanneries. Everybody involved in it is obsessed with leather.
Yeah.
So we're sourcing leather from Italy, from the United States, from Europe, wherever they're making great leather, that's where we're looking.
Cool. And it's a small team, like 6 dudes or 6 people, right?
The workshop in Guangzhou is like 6 people, yeah. It's a small crew.
Yeah, because I guess that's the next question is like, this is made in Guangzhou, China.
Guangzhou, China, yeah, which is a beautiful, large city in southern China. This is kind of the center of shoemaking in China. What that offers, right, is there's last makers, there's the best supplies are available, right? He's able to go and get all this great veg tan leather and insoles and all this stuff locally really easily. So
that's smart.
He has a lot of advantages over making it somewhere else.
Okay, and then as for just like positioning or any other details you wanted to go over, like maybe like where to buy this and how to buy it and all that stuff.
Yeah, so we, basically have these monthly releases. Go up on ironboots.com.
Okay.
There's a Ostmo by Iron Boots kind of tab there. You can check out, all their made-to-order offerings, and they do group made-to-order stuff as well.
Okay.
And then we've got our tab for the Ostmo collaboration, and whenever you watch this, there'll probably be something up.
Cool.
As things close, we run out of the leather, we close it. Sometimes that's it. Sometimes we'll bring them back.
Like a true made-to-order style, where it's like get it when you can get it.
It's true made-to-order, right? So you go on, you can customize it to a pretty high degree, right? Structured toe, unstructured toe. Get some speed hooks if you want speed hooks. We've got a couple different soles you can use, a couple different options there. Right now, it's about a 3 to 4 month lead time on it, which
better than most of the Pacific Northwest brands.
Is not too bad. Yeah. So
okay, so that's basically everything from the outside and obviously some of the stuff on the inside because we know how this thing is built. But we still got to cut it in half. Make sure all that stuff, all that buffalo leather and wool and everything is actually on the inside.
Yeah.
So let's go cut these things in half. Or this one in half. Okay, let's go. All right, Ticho, we got it cut in half. You want to do the honors of giving them the show of what's inside? Oh. Beautiful. Yeah, there's your wool filling there. Right underneath there, looks like, to kind of give a little squeak pad, a little extra squish. You can definitely tell that buffalo leather is a little bit softer than like a typical it really hard.
Has a little give to it, but it's so thick and you can see it's pretty dense kind of fibers here.
I love Red Wings, but their insoles are probably the hardest insoles I've ever put foot on.
Yeah.
Versus this is like, it gives you at least a little bit of squish.
I think another thing about it is that the fibers in the leather are very long on buffalo, and so that gives you more durability and a little bit more flex.
Right. I wonder if we can even take a durometer test on these. Probably not. The midsole leather looks like it's kind of more like an oak bark tan. Like if I put my thumbnail into both those leathers, they're very different densities. So this comes in at like a 85 versus that harder. Yeah, that's like 100 Shore. So yeah, that's interesting. So the buffalo is like 80 to 85 Shore. That the midsole is more like 90 to 100 Shore. So we could have a steel shank in there, give you a little rigidity.
Yep. I think you got kind of a leather kind of wrapping around that too.
Yeah.
Underneath. Then obviously this little layer of the wool.
Right.
Wool felt, which is pretty cool. And you can see it's stitched down, turned out here, so you're going to be pretty water resistant.
Full veg tan leather counter, looks like.
Yep. And this is an unstructured toe, but if it had toe structure, it would be leather as well.
Right. And the inside is I like that lining leather a lot. It's very soft too.
Yeah.
And it's not beat up. Like half the time we cut apart in these boots, like it's almost ripping here at the toe, from blasting it and all the sanding.
That's the joy of hand-lasted boots, man.
Yeah. But I guess the final question is, does this boot prove that you can have the finest boots made in China?
You know, I haven't been able to find better ones. For this project, I looked everywhere to try to find somebody that could build us, you know, something that was going to hold up to Lars's standards, which are extremely high, both for his own work and obviously for something that he was going to be lending his name to and lending his designs to. So I'm super glad to have found these guys.
This is like direct evidence that you can make the highest quality boots anywhere, even like China with that stigma of it. It's not, you can't get anything good from China. Clearly, this is about as good of a boot as you can build.
Yeah.
And it's made in China, and it's finished about as perfectly as you can finish a boot. The stitch density is really tight and it's really accurate. Like all the materials are clearly chosen for specific reasons and certain properties to make the boot perform in a certain way. So it's one of those things where it's hard not, like, what can you even really point to say like, no, that's not good? Like, what is there?
Yeah.
What can, like, yeah, because honestly, like, is there anything in here that you would even change or that you would?
No, I wouldn't.
Right?
I wouldn't change a single thing. You know, I think for me, it's less about, you know, where is something being made and more, you know, is it being made by somebody who shares an approach to making something that it's going to be the best it can be versus are we trying to cut corners and make something cheap and, you know, just make a ton of profit? Like, these are expensive boots, right?
Yeah.
There's a ton of handwork that goes into them. The materials cost is super high. It's just a different approach.
Right.
And the fact that Kai is in Guangzhou and, you know, he can spin up a team of 5 other people that are going to help him make these. That's the only difference between him and Lars being in Norway, where he faces significant barriers to doing that. We're just glad to have connected with them and glad to have, you know, found somebody that shares the vision for it.
That's such a cool story because it's such an interesting story of like this worldwide story to make a historical boot as good as humanly possible, and combining all these different people, but also bucking that trend of everyone thinking that nothing good can come from China. Clearly, this is one of the finer boots that we've ever, if not the best, like the highest quality like dress boot we've ever cut apart. I can't even think of any other boots that maybe could top this in like the more dress boot world that we've cut apart.
It doesn't feel super heavy on foot. It's really comfortable to wear it all day. And, you know, I just completed the Thunderdome in a pair of these.
Oh, sick. We'll put some pictures of them over top here. It was
an absolute joy to wear these like pretty much every day for the last 6 months.
Cool.
But yeah, man, it's cool to cut this open and, you know, see that it looks as good inside as it does outside.
Right, because like ultimately, sometimes you just never know. Like sometimes people are just so much talk until you literally get it cut in half, and that's where you really see if it's talk or if it is actually as good quality as people think it is.
Yeah, I mean, I had the advantage of partnering with Lars, who is a bootmaker, right? So sent him a pair. He had already torn a pair apart. Yeah. We knew what was inside and knew everything was legit. So
cool. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming all the way to Salt Lake solely for this video. It has nothing to do with your vacation and spring break and the kids hanging out right behind the green screen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Shout out to the boys. And if you want a pair of these, you can check them out. Links in the description. And thanks again for hopping on the camera. Appreciate it.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Any other plugs you want to do? Stitch Down Podcast, Ticho Blanco Shoes on Instagram, Iron Boots USA on Instagram.
Yeah.
And anything else?
Yeah, that's it, man. Yeah, okay. Ostmo Boots on Instagram, Iron Boots USA on Instagram, Ticho Blanco Shoes on Instagram.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting us cut these apart, because this is a very expensive thing that we would have had to buy if you wouldn't have donated one to us. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it, man.
Thanks, Ticho.
Thanks, dude.
See ya. On the camera?
Wave. Wait,
say
like, is it like on? Like,
fire!
Oh,